You know, you don't have to be a wine expert to host a wine tasting party like a pro right in your house. Diane Nozik, independent wine consultant for WineShop at Home, is here with us today, and she's got great tips on hosting the perfect wine tasting party. Hi, Diane.
Hi, JD. Thanks for having me.
I love the idea of having a wine party at my house, but I think I would be a little intimidated, like that I wouldn't know enough to make it work.
You know, you really don't need to be an expert. Hosting a wine tasting in your home should be simple and easy and fun. WineShop at Home is a Napa Valley winery that's been doing in-home wine tasting parties all across the country. This is what we do. Yeah, we actually come into your home and help you have the perfect wine tasting party.
That sounds fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about what we need to get started. Give us some tips. Do we need food, obviously, to pair with our wines?
You want to have a nice selection of food. You want to make sure that you have some wine accessories handy. Right. So some of the key things I like to have at a wine tasting is, first, I want to start, we've got this beautiful candelabra over here.
Yeah.
It's filled with unscented candles. One of the things that's important, a lot of times people don't think about, is you want to make sure those candles are unscented. Maybe you're choosing flowers that don't have a heavy fragrance and asking your guests not to wear a heavy perfume. Yeah, the fragrances of a perfume can really interfere with the aromas of a wine.
And so much of wine drinking is about the scent and it's about the bouquet, right? The smell of it. So if you got, fancy candles around, that's going to mess that up.
Absolutely.
Good
so we
point.
start with that. Then we want to make sure we have the tools, because it's all about having the right tools.
Right.
So you want to make sure you have a great wine opener, maybe a decanter to decant your wines, some good quality stemware, a dump bucket is important, and then of course the important stuff, you want to have the wines.
You want to have the wines. And the dump bucket is interesting. When you're tasting wine, you don't always drink the whole thing. You drink enough to get the scent, the flavor, and the taste, and you dump what's left.
The formal name for this is the wine tasting receptacle, in case you...
In case dump bucket's a little too lowbrow for you, right?
Right, absolutely. But when you're tasting a lot of wine, if you don't want it to go to your head, it's okay to use your wine tasting receptacle. Same thing if you don't love a wine. The beautiful part about wine is there's so many of them that they might not all be your favorites, and that's okay. So that's why we have our handy
Very
wine
good.
tasting
Well, I think I'm going to love them all because they all look good. Let's start. Where are we going to start? We start light and go dark?
We do. We go light, lighter to heavier. And you want to start, we've got our Petit Cadeau Semi-Secco Sparkling over here on ice, along with our Lawn Cellar Chardonnay. One of the important things that you want to have when you're hosting a tasting is you do want to have a way to keep those white wines, your sparkling wines, cool.
Chilled, yeah.
Yeah, so you want to have something to keep them on ice. You can see right next to it we have water. It's important to have something to refresh your palate between wines, so you want to have water available for your guests when you're hosting a wine tasting. So we would start with those. You can see we've got a wide selection of cheeses here to pair. So if I was to do the Petit Cadeau and the Lawn Cellars, I've got some great brie and goat cheese to pair with our lighter wines.
That looks really good. It's so good. I don't even want to cut into it. It looks so nice. What is the reason for going lighter to darker with wines? So starting with these and going to the heavier wines. Is it because if you start with these, it'll be hard to get the taste of those? I'm not sure I know.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
you really hit the nail on the head. You want to make sure you go with your lightest wines to your heavier wines, because the taste and the flavor in a big, bold wine, you're not going to taste that Chardonnay that you have after a red. So you want to start with a white and work your way down the line.
Makes sense. And so we're pairing different cheeses that have different textures and different tastes to accentuate the taste of the wine.
Right. We like to keep it simple. So when we help you host a wine tasting, we suggest just a simple selection of cheeses, crackers, maybe some rustic baguettes, a little bit of chocolate, fruit. Everybody loves the chocolate.
Yeah.
And we suggest that you have a few of those things for your guests to try and not get too worried about the different pairings, because that's another way where people think that hosting a wine tasting is so hard, is getting that right food with the right wine. Here's the thing, you just want to try different things and experience different foods with different wines. Even consider asking all of your guests to bring a different appetizer.
Oh, that's a great idea. That's why you're the pro. Okay, so we've moved on from our whites and we're moving down to some reds, yeah?
Here we have our Deluge Russian River Pinot Noir. This is a little bit of a heavier wine, so the cheeses we brought to suggest with this would be like a Gouda, Havarti, a dry cheddar, or even a Parm. A Parmesan cheese would be lovely with this wine.
I love the presentation, a little slate with a chalkboard. I love that.
It
looks
beautiful.
Really good. And this, it looks big and bold and beautiful. It's Artisan?
This here we have our Artisan 5 2012 Masterpiece. Fantastic, big, bold wine. You can see that we actually put this in a decanter to give that wine a chance to breathe and aerate and really open up before we pair it with wines like with cheeses like a blue cheese or a Stilton.
So these are obviously like the stinkier, heavier, the mouthful cheeses. We put those with a heavier wine because they can hold up to that, yeah?
Absolutely. The tannins in a heavier wine will hold up beautifully to those cheeses.
Okay, let's get down to the chocolate. Because I don't want to run out of time. We've got chocolate and the berries, and we're going to save these for, is it more of a dessert wine?
That is our series Decadence dessert wine, and I see you've moved your way towards the chocolate. So let's get some of this in your glass.
Okay.
We brought this one for you to try. We heard you like chocolate too.
See, all about having the right equipment. I like the little pour spout there.
Right, so this is a Posy pour. You would see these in the tasting rooms of Napa Valley. This makes sure that I gave you a perfect 1 ounce pour, enough for you to try the wine and really enjoy its flavors. We'll get some in that glass.
Very nice. And is this more of a dessert wine?
This is more of a dessert wine.
Wow. Smells chocolatey.
It does smell chocolatey. Well, let me walk you through some S's of wine tasting.
Here we go.
The formal part of wine tasting, if you may. So the first one is to see your wine. What you're really looking for is color and clarity. So we're just looking for the color on this wine. The next one, we want you to swirl that wine. So give it a nice swirl. What you're really doing is releasing the flavors and aromas when you swirl the wine.
Okay.
After that, we're going to smell it. So we're going to sniff the wine. Be bold in your sniffing.
Wow. That's a noseful. That's good. A lot of, like I said, the chocolate really comes out, the fruit.
I think even on a dessert wine, it's got an unexpectedly powerful and beautiful nose. So I love this wine for that. Now, what do you think comes after the swirling of the wine and the smelling of the wine?
Boy, I sure hope it's the drinking.
It is
the
totally
sipping, right?
sipping of the wine. Yes,
The sipping.
Sipping of the wine is next.
Okay, wow. All right, here we go.
Let me know what you think.
That is really yummy. And I sometimes find dessert wines overly sweet, not overly sweet. It's got kind of like a chocolatey finish to it, so it tastes like a regular red when it comes in, and then it blossoms into this chocolatey yumminess.
Yes.
That's really good.
This is an incredible finisher, especially when you pair it with some chocolate. I mean, it's the great end to your wine tasting.
Diane, thank you so much for all these tips. I feel like I'm ready to have a wine tasting at home. You can find all of these tips and the wines and everything you need to know to host the perfect wine tasting party or to become a wine consultant yourself. Go to wineshopathome.com.